Hello, good evening. We'll get started here in a minute. I'm gonna smudge. Feel free to smudge or light a candle. Make sure you have a drink. We'll get started shortly. Okay, see how much I get. Okay. So I'm just going to make sure everybody has their mute on while we get started. Welcome. And I get to see some new people I don't recognize. Welcome. Smudge you all. Okay. So while we get going, I'm sure there's more people that will join in with us tonight. I do have a chat, so if you have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. I'm still pretty new at multitasking this thing, so I will eventually see your questions. When I'm finished, we will have a question and answer period. So if you have any questions about what I've said, feel free to ask me after the session.
Egg.
Okay, perfect. So let's get started. Before I begin, I'm going to pull an angel card just so I can tap into all of our energies together and see what I get. What kind of energy we all have tonight. Okay, so I got intention. That's perfect for this class in psychic development because what we intend to happen will. Intention is very powerful, and I'm excited to get into it with you. So welcome to the psychic development class. This has 4 sessions, so there's a lot of information that you're going to learn about. And I hope that this will help you out with your psychic journey. So a little bit about me. I have been an intuitive professionally since I was 21. And well, probably before that. I'm in my mid-40s now. The way I started was doing readings for friends. And then later on in my life, when I was 21, I moved to Vancouver, and I was Vancouver's celebrity psychic. I did an event weekly. It was called Planet Love, and my job was to do readings for people about their love life and when they were going to meet their soulmate. Planet Love was a night that Granville Street in Vancouver had at a Fred's Tavern. I believe it's still there today. And it was a matchmaking type of night. Simple, I guess it would be, one sec, I'm just gonna mute some of these. It was like speed dating, but everyone had a mailbox and a number that they wore on their shirt, and they were allowed to send messages to each other, and people would go pick out their messages in their mailbox, and I did readings. Eventually, I ended up creating a clientele that allowed me to open up my first space. It was called Crystal Streams and Magical Themes, and I did readings out of there. So I've been doing this for quite a while. I also have done the television guides. You know, in the old days, we would have the magazine that had all of the channels. Well, I did the psychic questions and answers in that for many years. And today I am here in St. Martin's, and I just basically do most of my work online. Now, when I started my intuitive development, it actually started when I was quite young. I was probably about, I don't know, kindergarten, and I was in a really not so good situation in my life, in my family life. And the first presence that ever came to me was an angelic being who told me that I would be okay, and just to know you're going to be okay. From that time, I've had spirit guidance ever since. I was raised in quite a religious, I don't know, my mother married someone who was religious. I had to do the whole church thing. There were Pentecostals. And the first demon I ever saw was in the church. So I had my first two experiences, an angel and a demon. After that, in my teens, I got really interested in the tarot, and I was doing lots of readings. Who's my soulmate? What should I do? And that's when my guiding system really popped in. And since then, I've been working with that system. So for me, psychic development and learning how to connect to your pathways is number one. I use my pathways every day for everything, and even my personal goals. And so I want to share this with you and teach you different ways to connect with it. So today it is going to be a lot of information, and then we'll be getting into exercises and things that you can do. There is no doubt that each one of you is psychic, and I believe that firmly. When I opened my first store, I had other psychics that would come in, and they were angry at me for teaching this to the public because they wanted to hold on to psychics are only, you know, 7th generation, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that. We all have these abilities, and we actually use them more unconsciously than we know. So welcome to this class. I hope you enjoy it and receive some new information, and I am excited about sharing this with you. So psychic development is always working with spirit, and there's many different levels of spirit, and we're going to be getting that into the class. But whenever we're connecting to our psychic abilities, we are connecting to some sort of spirit and consciousness. And today I want to get into how to connect with those consciousnesses and what they are. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to recognize the certain areas of life that you're connecting to on a psychic level so that you can manifest the guidance and also the life that you want. So just know whenever you are tapping in, you are tapping into a higher realm. And that realm is outside of our mundane mind or our consciousness, like our daily mental mind. So when we receive gut feelings and coincidences, and we've all experienced that in life, or the serendipities or things that keep coming 3 times, those are all triggers. And they come around us to let us know that our psychic pathway is at work and that spirit or your higher self has something for you that they want you to connect and grow with. So when we connect on an intuitive level, we are connecting with positive forces, and naturally, every ability has the ability to connect with something different. So our intuitive self should always speak positively. Okay? The same goes with people you may go for readings with, that sort of thing. Our spirit guides always feed us positive information. It's never negative. So in this class, I want you to hone in on the positive guidance that's around you. There's also negative energies and negative thoughts and people that read into negative things. And when we do that, we're not connecting to higher levels of consciousness, And when I'm talking about higher levels, these are omnipresent beings. So for me, I see ourselves, each person, as two types of beings, okay? There's our soul and our higher self and our subconscious mind. That lives on forever through all of eternity, and it's naturally who we are. Then we have the mundane self, okay? And that mundane self is all of the things that we truly are not, or it's the negative things that have affected us, the imprints that we can tap into in the material world. So when we are connecting with ghosts, we are connecting to a mundane consciousness or a mundane spirit. And that part stays in this realm, in the realm that we live in, and becomes part of the global consciousness, okay? And we're always connecting to the global consciousness. So when we receive feelings and coincidences, they're triggers and openings that allow us to connect to our psychic pathways. And it's about strengthening those pathways. So every time we notice a sign or a symbol or listen to a message or something that's repetitive or say, oh my God, that's neat, I know that came from somewhere else, we will become stronger in our pathways. So the more that we notice, the more opportunity we have for our pathways to work for us. All of these triggers are a call from a higher spiritual energy contacting us for important receiving matters to better our life. You need to be able to be open to receive, and you also need to learn how to let go. So those two aspects are super important when it comes to developing your intuition. So when we let go of negative things, we are able to receive more guidance and we're able to be more clear. Our energy levels won't drop, okay? And when our energy levels are drop, or we're lethargic or in a stressful state, it's very difficult for us to heighten. So it's important that we learn how to heighten ourselves and be open to more things. People that have a tough time receiving or knowing what they want will also have more of a tough time connecting to and listening to spirit. So you want to learn how to open yourselves to the power of receiving. When we're working with our psychic pathways, we're in a state of receiving and we're open. The more we carry as far as stress, the more weighed down we are, and the more connected we are to the mundane consciousness that surrounds us. And we've all been there. We've all been in stressful states or dealing with things, and that's kind of what shows us where our willpower is. We're able to take ourselves out of it. We're like, I'm done with this shit, and you make a choice. And that's usually when guidance kicks in. A lot of us are females here tonight. So for us, you know, childbirth, having children, or going into a place where we experience trauma will also heighten us. And the reason why is because when we experience a traumatic state, we actually are heightened in that state, and we receive the guidance that will help pull us out. So trauma heightens us, and then we always receive the help and guidance there. So the 5 senses that we have are the doorways and the portal for the manifestation of psychic energy to come through. Our vision, our hearing, our smell, our taste, and our touch. So look at those 5 senses as if they are your the doorways for the expression of your psychic energies to come through. So our conscious mind connects to frequencies and energies, and it matches what we are receiving. So if we are in a state of happiness, there's a consciousness of happiness that will come into our being and also give us the information and energies. So we match certain states of consciousness whenever we're in a positive state or a negative state. We are also always connected to the global consciousness that influences us. Sometimes you can see that on the news. Say someone's had a snowboarding accident. If you read the news, maybe there's a snowboarding accident the same day in 3 different provinces. That's a global state of consciousness. So it's like a brainwave that's always around the world. It's important for people who are tapping into their psychic abilities and receiving positive guidance to know that they are a part of healing that global consciousness. Psychics are there to give people positive guidance about growth and changing their life for the better. And when we do that, we are helping and healing and influencing the global consciousness as we know it. And that's one of the reasons why Buddhists are so powerful, because they are holding space for the world and they believe that they're changing the global consciousness as we know it. Think of yourself as a radio. When we go to the radio and we're tuning in to find that perfect channel that we want to listen to, we're the same. So we're like a radio tuning in to certain aspects and different consciousnesses of information. And the more we tune in, the more powerful we become. The one thing that I want to get into is our psychic self is connected to 12 light bodies. So we are a physical being and we have a physical body, but outside of our body, we also have 12 light bodies. Each one of these light bodies is connected to a chakra or a different type of consciousness. And I want to get into that. The 12 light bodies all have their own mind, and it's a portal of power that helps us. It's within us and it's also outside of us. At the same time, this is a constant flow and movement that never changes or that never ends. It's always in motion. Okay. Oh. There we go. Sorry. Okay. So the consciousness of each plays an important part of our life for manifesting the best life possible. Each auric body has a natural frequency that keeps us balanced unless we put a block within these systems ourselves. Each layer is actually a bioplasmic double-layered membrane system. So each one actually has a skin type boundary. And the auric body can be healthy. They are always wanting to be healthy and looking for growth. So they are about 2 to 4 inches from each other. And the weaker the auric body or the chakra, the more dehydrated and less powerful our electromagnetic field becomes. We become inflated. So our auric bodies can have more powerful bodies than others. So when I'm going through this, in this next section, you may be able to recognize what auric body is ruling your life right now. And even though one may be more powerful than the others, know that all of these bodies are constantly in, I want to say mind, but are constantly in consciousness, guiding you whether you're conscious of it or not. So when our electromagnetic energy or when we are in a state of stress, our light becomes dim. So our light bodies will actually dim and it disconnects us from our intuitive guiding system. Electromagnetic energy is light, and that is the energy of space that's in between each auric body. From listening to the following consciousness of our light bodies, the bands of light within those auric bodies will heighten or they will also cave in. So a small light body, a small auric body is something that needs healing. Some people have the ability to see auras and they would be able to see if your auric layers are balanced or which one is thinner than the rest. But when we have a healthy auric body, each 12 of them are about 2 to 4 inches. You may be able to recognize what level of consciousness you're paying attention to, or what is the strongest consciousness around you. However, please keep in mind that even though your mental consciousness may be using one of these, the rest are always in play. So the first one I want to talk about is our first auric body. It's our etheric body. It's our root chakra is what it's connected to. And it represents our physical security, our physical body, our organs, our energy meridians, and even our glands. This consciousness monitors how we feel on a physical level and how much protection is activated within those life energies. So if we are in a state of survival, that energy, that first light body is going to be the most active, okay? The second auric body represents our emotional body. And this relates to our emotions, our feelings, and also our experiences. This one screens our feelings and emotions. So people who have maybe disconnection with their emotional self would definitely need healing on this level. Now, for us as psychic people, we're able to activate that energy by putting energy 2 to 4 inches from our body. So people who do energy healing can actually heal through connecting to these different light bodies. The third one, and that's our sacral chakra. So our sacral chakra represents our emotional self. The third light body that we have is our mental body. And this represents our solar plexus chakra, the consciousness of our thoughts, our ideas, our logical self, the process of the way we think. This body also filters our ideas and beliefs. So people who are really mental and they're really having trouble to quiet their mind need more energy fed into the system so that they can receive the positive thoughts that we should have. So this body is really important because it allows us to monitor, are we in a positive mental state? Are we in a negative mental state? Are we just neutral? Neutral is good. When you're neutral and you know how to quiet your mind, then this can really play an important part of your psychic intuitive self. You'll be able to be open enough to receive higher enlightenment. The fourth represents our heart chakra and our astral body. It's our well-being, it's the ideas of expansion, it's also how we feel our love. It represents, sorry, I'm on the fourth, right? The astral body, yes. Our well-being, our expansions, and feelings of love. So this consciousness attracts or repels relationships. So those who have a broken heart would need to heal this energy center. And this energy center can also be accessed through the heart chakra. So if you have a hard time connecting to your relationship or you're having trouble getting into a relationship, giving this energy center energy will allow you to attune yourself to the feelings of love and emotion, not just for yourself, but for other people as well. When we get into the fifth auric body, it represents our creativity, sounds, and vibrations that we're connecting to. And it's actually a carbon copy of our physical body in the spiritual realm. So from this part, we are able to connect and communicate to spirit. This consciousness will also attract, repel, and send guidance. So many psychics who are able to connect to this connection will be able to read you quite well. So if I'm doing a reading for someone and I'm not communicating to a past loved one, I'm able to access information through this level, okay? And this is your spiritual self. The sixth auric body is actually our celestial body. It's our angelic self. So there's no negativity there. It's actually always positive. And this is where our omnipresent energy and consciousness begins. It's this consciousness that relates to our spiritual mind, our subconscious, and our higher self, and the connection to our enlightenment. This consciousness opens our choices, and it also enacts our decisions. In magic or in psychic work, this is where we can tap into making the right decision for ourselves that will prove positive growth and can also show us our path. The seventh body is the Ketheric body. This consciousness holds all of our light bodies together. So this actually acts like a border around our auric egg. It connects us to the divine and to the divinity that we're connected to. This consciousness allows us to connect with spirits, and that spiritual energy or entity will actually influence this auric body by giving it either positive or negative energies. So when we watch a scary movie and all of a sudden we're tapping in and feeling scary stuff around and the spirit comes, guess what body they're entering? That auric body. So for that access, it actually does come through our crown chakra. So when we feel out a haunted place, we are connecting with that energy through our crown chakra, and it can have a negative or positive effect. Of course, if you carry protection and keep yourself protected, it will not be able to stay in your system, okay? The eighth light body is our karmic consciousness, and this layer broadcasts and receives our karmic connection. It absorbs its power. This is where we can access our karmic power and receive whether it's good or bad. If it's bad, then it's the mundane mental energies that will actually take this auric body. So we could get overtaken by our karmic situations. So make sure that you stay clear, okay? And so that you have a karmic, I know I have a karmic piggy bank. The more good you do, the more good you are, the more good karma comes your way, right? So that's actually our eighth light body. Our ninth light body is our earth connection, and it connects us with other people based on our soul or spirit. This is where psychic information comes from when we're reading other people and the spiritual presence that's around them. It broadcasts what our guiding forces want to tell us. This is also where cords from other people can be attached to us. So keeping this connection clear without any unfinished business or negative relations is important. So if we aren't healed from the past, it's important for you to learn how to let go so that the contamination doesn't take over with this light body. The neat thing about the earth connection is we actually will draw that global consciousness through that body as well too. This body drags into the earth. So if you're in a place where someone was bitchy, you're most likely going to pick up that energy through this earth connection, ninth auric body. This body is also outside of the auric egg that I talked about, but it holds frequency and connects to the consciousness of the earth and the life that we are connecting to and manifesting from. Those who connect to nature or nature spirits, some of you know that I do lots of magic in my life. This is the auric body that I tap into to manifest the life that I want. It collects the energy, and depending on our frequency and the energy of this body, we manifest from that frequency. Our 10th auric body represents our beliefs and it connects us to various global consciousnesses and energies to manifest our life. So when we are thinking a certain way and those coincidences happen, it's through this 10th auric body that's giving us that manifestation. The 11th auric body is actually our commanding force. It's our free will and it's our willpower. So spirit doesn't really influence us there. However, we're projecting a lot of energy through it. So when we are working magic or we are trying to connect with spirit, that auric body activates and it helps us attain our goals. So free will is connected to that 11th body. The 12th auric body, and that's the last one. So it's the one that's closest to the outside, our outside force, is our cosmic connection. And this consciousness connects us to our higher divine self. It connects us to our ancestral beings and our spirit guides. This is the consciousness that we call upon for divine connections, our gods, our goddess energies, and it connects us and travels through our entire being into our meridians. This is the last and outside border of the aura, and this is usually anywhere from 4 to 10 feet from the body. So if we are standing next to each other and we're within 4 feet, all of our auric bodies blend, okay? And that's one of the reasons why doing magic within a circle is super powerful, because we're usually within 4 feet of each other and we actually all do become one. Our chakras are also a way to attune ourselves on a physical and spiritual level. So there are a lot of people that are teaching the chakra work, and there's a lot of information out there. I'm not going to get too much into the chakras, and I do ask that you do some research on the chakras, but all of these chakras that we are connected to are actually what influence and power our auric bodies. So each auric body is connected to a chakra. And our chakras are a way to attune ourselves on a physical and also a spiritual level so that we can communicate and manifest our guidance. Each chakra contains within its structure bioplasmic crystals. And these are actual crystals that can operate in a fluid state. That's how our chakras open, close, and spin. The more activated we are, the more power we receive. If we are blocked, our bioplasmic crystals and our electromagnetic light energy weakens, and reactivation and balance is needed. So their function is to open, close, and spin energy frequencies for our optimal health and for the life manifestations we are trying to receive. So our chakra vortexes receive and release energy. All of them are a part of our life force. To ignore them could cost us our health and our life. So I am really scared of flying. And for me, if I go on an airplane, I literally have to look at every single person and make sure they all have an auric glow. If I don't see an auric glow, I won't go on that plane. Because if there's a plane full of people and it's dim and nobody has their auric glow, that plane's going down, okay? So these systems that I'm talking about have all been scientifically researched. So there's scientific evidence. Now, each one of the auric bodies have a different frequency, and those frequencies will match with our state of being, our moods, and also what we're attracting. So the lower chakras usually relate to our survival. When we tap into our psychic abilities, we are in a state of expansion. So whenever we tap into our psychic abilities, a new path is in play. Okay, so you won't ever get to the same state you were when you looked at your psychic reading the day before. You're always starting a new knowledge, enlightenment, and state. One thing that I do want to get into is what a call is. So when we first begin to develop our psychic pathways, it's really important to call upon them, okay? Because even though we get hunches and these things are happening, we have to get into a place where we know how to call the spirit and the guidance that we want. The reason why I spoke about the 12 auric bodies is because once you learn how to connect, you will be able to put yourself in certain states of being to receive the information you need about or within each one of those bodies. So if I'm doing a reading for someone and they're having relationship issues, for me, I know which auric body I need to connect with for that person to receive the guidance and get rid of the problems that exist there. So I want you to learn how to call your guiding system. So a call is a request that can either be silent or it can be verbal to the subconscious mind or your higher self. The subconscious mind is your higher self, or the spirit world intelligence that's around you for psychic information. Anyone can do this anywhere and at any time. We can receive psychic help, but only if one makes a call for it. When we do this, the law of free will comes into action, and the subconscious mind will not surface information, or either will the spirits communicate with us unless it is consciously willed or secretly desired or karmically willed. So for us, I'm going to give you a couple of things to try this week so that you can learn how to call your ability into action, but also start connecting with the different pathways. So here are some things to try. Now, everyone, I get so many people that hate meditation, okay? And I'm telling you, that was one of the toughest things that I had to learn myself, because you know, from my life, I just received guidance. So it was always like, don't do that, and you need to do this, and stay away from that person. But when it came to meditation, it was really difficult for me because I didn't know what to expect, because I received vision and insight with my eyes open. But I really want you to try these exercises until we meet again. So one reason why meditation is so important and why it was important for me to develop it is so that we can go into a no thought process, okay? Everybody knows when we meditate and silence the mind, guidance can come. However, we're not going to take things that far yet. I want you to go into a no thought process and learn how to feel and connect to new consciousnesses, or to open yourself up to spirit communication. We do not receive guidance when we're in a stressed out or if our conscious mind is too strong. So some of us that are control freaks, this is a really good exercise for you to do so that you can learn to trust the intuition and receive spiritual communication. So this is actually called a mental psychic process. And it's important for opening up your psychic doorway and learning how to connect with your higher self or the spirits around you. Journaling and asking questions with a pen and paper is really important. Putting together a vision for yourself about your future is huge. When we're asking questions, and anytime you have a question to ask, you will always receive an answer. Now, at first, when we're communicating with our higher selves and we're asking questions, we may hear our own voice, almost like a whisper in our mind. Some people, and a lot of people, have this at first. If that's so, where your ideas are coming in and it sounds like your own, then you're in a place where spirit wants you to learn how to trust yourself more. Once you have full trust in yourself and your abilities, that voice will be able to change and you'll be able to hear other spirit presence. And one day you won't hear your own whispers. It will always be a whisper from spirit. Okay? The first time that happened to me, it freaked me out. But now I know I can call upon my grandpa for guidance and I can hear him when he comes. Or if I'm doing a reading for someone, I'm listening to the spirit that's around them or their higher self. So journaling, asking questions, and putting together a vision of your future is super important. The reason why the vision of the future is important to trigger your psychic's auditory, your clairaudience, which is clear hearing, is because the spirit will talk to you, okay? And whether it sounds like your own or someone else, you want to pay attention. Spirit only communicates when it has to do with bettering your life or helping you fulfill what you want and desire in your life. Spirit does not care about things that you don't care about. It only cares about what you want, what you truly want and desire. So when you put your vision together of things that you want, guidance will kick in. And it may even give you the vision of where those ideas could take you, okay? The other thing that is a good exercise to do is getting a deck of cards, red and black, okay? And this game I still play to this day whenever I just want to see how connected I am. So get a regular deck of cards, and then before you turn it over, guess whether it's red or black. At first, you're going to feel like you're guessing, but after a few minutes, you're going to hear the answer, or the answer will pop in, or you'll see red or black. When you're doing this, you're connecting and you're heightening yourself and you're opening yourself for spirit to communicate with you or your higher self to connect with you. So guessing what will come, and then all of a sudden, the guidance will start kicking in. Doesn't matter how right or wrong you are, it's about just receiving that insight and that answer. And the faster you go, the faster it will speak. So try practicing that to see if it will work for you. We always receive answers to our questions, but where are they coming from? Understanding our state of mind. We have our conscious self, which is our mental mind. We have our subconscious self, which is our spiritual mind. And we also have a super consciousness. And the super consciousness is when we have a connection to our mental self and our spiritual mind, and they work together. And that actually is what is super important for learning how to practice magic and manifestation, because manifestation doesn't occur unless your conscious mind and your spirit mind say, yeah, I want this. Okay, that means your whole state of being wants it. So the superconscious is when our two minds and our connection to the higher realms is in play. I saw the question just now. Sorry, sorry it's delayed on that. I'll get to that later on. I'm sorry. So what do psychics connect to? That's one thing that I want to get into, because psychics can connect to many different things. And when you see a psychic, it's good to ask them, how do they work? Okay, it goes past the 4 pathways, which I'm going to get into as well. But when psychics connect, we can connect to the knowledge of our higher self, okay? Our higher self is that omnipresent being that I talked about earlier. It's our subconscious mind that knows everything. There is not one thing your higher self knows. Our higher self is connected to the Akashic records. That's why when we meditate and our higher self comes in, we can actually receive information about anything we want. And many of you may have heard that people will meditate so that they can access the Akashic records. Well, we are part of the Akashic records. The other thing that we can connect to is other people's consciousnesses. So when I'm doing a reading for someone, I can connect to their conscious mind and know exactly how they're thinking. I can also connect to the different light bodies, and each one of those light bodies will give me information, or I will connect to their higher self and communicate with the higher self. Psychics are also able to communicate with spirit. We can communicate with a presence. So a presence is any invisible energy that holds some type of information. So it can be a global consciousness in the environment. If someone walks into my house, I know what kind of environment they're living in or what's around them. It's also higher beings or lower beings. So we can communicate with basically any type of vibration or frequency, depending on how sensitive we are and how connected we are to that. When we understand our five senses and use them as a psychic pathway doorway, our subconscious self and other consciousness and our spirit guides will use those doorways to show us that they're in work and active. The spirit world and our higher realms want to give us positive energy. They're not just here when we call upon them. They're here 24/7. So anything that we're working on in our life, anything that may also be stressful, are really important for us to seek guidance and receive the answers so that we can have the manifestations that we want with everything we're doing. We can also connect to places and energies. How many of you walked into a place and thought, oh my God, this is awesome, I love it, I'm just gonna start dancing? Or into a place where like, oh my God, that was horrible, I'm never going there again. Some of us can't handle malls, we can't handle Walmart. If that is you, that's your psychic self tapping into the atmosphere of others, okay? We can also connect to negative things. And the negative things are usually coming at us almost like an ego consciousness. So when we are dealing with negative energies, there's ego in play, and usually someone else's or our own. But negative energies usually come from the mind or the ego. It never comes from spirit. And that's one reason why, if people are speaking negative to you, don't accept it. And I am a firm believer that psychics should never speak anything negative. Our spirit guides would never give us anything negative. Why should someone that we don't know do that as well? So it's easy for our ego to connect with these things too, but we have to connect with our ego and tame it. If our ego is feeding us fears and doubts, that means that you're in a place of survival, and it's trying to do its job to keep you protected, to keep those judgments of others enlightening you so that you don't get hurt. But when we tame the energy of the ego, and one of the ways to tame it is by not listening to fears and doubts and taking that as a sign that you should definitely break through those fears and doubts, then your ego will turn into a guidance system. Instead of hearing, don't do that, that's stupid, you'll hear, go for it, do it, go to the casino. So we do want to work at training our ego by paying attention to what it's doing. Is it protecting you from somebody else's energy? Is it trying to tell you that this thing is fearful because it's a thing of importance? So until we meet again, use your ego as a sign of what you should be paying attention to and connecting for guidance, okay? And break the ego so that it knows, hey, it's not paying, she knows what she's doing. She's confident, and it will tame that sound of the ego and turn into guidance. And then you'll only hear positive things unless you're being triggered. So our ego is meant to tell us, hey, connect to something higher. Okay. So use it as a sign to seek higher connection and understanding. So 3 ways to meditate. I want you to try these exercises for 3 days each. The first one, I want you to meditate for 3 days in a row. And if you could do this once, each one of these exercises once a week until we meet in 2 weeks, you'll be able to experience some development in your intuitive pathways. So for the first 3 days, I want you to try to meditate for a minimum of 10 minutes to a maximum of 20 minutes. And you can put a 20-minute timer on. The goal here is not to think. Try not to think or pay attention to things that are popping in. Okay? You just want to hold the silence, hold the space. When we learn how to do this, we will be able to call upon our intuition on call. Just like I said, you want to start to make a call that you need this information, okay? So for 3 times, just meditate and try to keep your thoughts at a 0. If you can't do it, it's fine. Just try it 3 times and hold your space. After that, the next week, take 3 days in a row and take this further. I want you to use a mantra. So you're going to do the same type of meditation between 10 and 20 minutes. And I want you to use, you can use any mantra you want, but you want it to be a tongue twister. So for example, joy, joyous, joyful, joyously. And the reason why we're doing that is because we want to put a small amount of concentration into this meditation. You can also use background music for these 3 sessions. The goal here is to perfect your connection by allowing other influences to be around you, but still allowing and learning how to control your mind and thoughts. If our thoughts are playing, we're not receiving the guidance that we want. Then what I want you to do is learn how to control your thoughts. So do this daily. Be conscious of your thoughts. Stay positive in your day. Every day there's positivity and there's also bliss. So there is divine energy around you 24/7. Our intuition is our divine self, and it's our omnipresent being. It's never negative. So it's important for you that if you have something negative influencing you or affecting you or giving you stress, you get rid of it. Ways to get rid of it: you can write it down and burn it. You can ask the spirit, get me out of this state. I don't like this. Bring me help. But start directing spirit to help you with the things that you feel are negative. Okay? Even if my hubby's pissing me off, I'll just ask spirit, please, I don't want to see this anymore. Bring in some positive energy, and I'll wait. And I'll watch how he's changing that energy. I don't mean to use him as an example, but we can influence the energy of others. If it's negative, we can heighten it. So try to control your thoughts and stay positive, because that will heighten your energy. And if you have trouble staying in your energy all day and you're getting drained out, then that means that you are fighting energies that are trying to bring you down. So the more positive you stay, the more active we become. All of those crystals that I was talking about in your system will be activated, and it will keep you heightened, and staying positive will become effortless. Okay? One thing that you can also do is use a clear quartz crystal. Now, in this course, I will be going into other tools that we can use to develop our abilities. But for this week, if you have a clear quartz crystal and you carry that with you, or you can make an elixir, rub the crystal like this, put it in a jug of water, let it sit in the fridge for 24 hours and drink the water, you will find that it will heighten your energy and it will attune you to your psychic abilities. So carrying a clear quartz crystal or drinking the medicine is not just very healing, but it will activate your chakras, your light bodies, and give you the positivity that you need. I went into the ego before, but I want to go in a little bit more. So your ego is connected to the conscious mind, and it can turn into the most positive guiding force ever when you learn to trust yourself. And then once you trust yourself, your ego and your higher self become best friends. There's no longer that devil and angel on each shoulder. So when we connect to our higher self and our subconscious mind, we're able to receive clearer psychic messages. Until then, our ego is in a protective state by feeding you our mind's fears and doubts so that we don't let ourselves down or we don't get hurt. Use this as a considered untamed energy and pay attention to the topics in your life that ego speaks. When ego speaks, it is the most important portal of power that's around you. So you want to make the choice to break through. So if you're sitting there in your living room and your ego is pissed off at someone, there is an energy that you need to feel and connect with that other person. If you have a fear to step into a certain place or a career, then it is important. It is part of your purpose right now. So until we meet again, use your ego as a tool, okay? The other thing I want to talk about is some pathways, the 4 pathways, and then I will go into the questions and answers. So clairaudience or clairaudience is clear hearing. Clair means clear. So when we receive clear hearing, we are actually receiving spoken guidance or auditory. It's auditory, so we hear it. So connecting to spoken guidance is really important because we're hearing our spirit guides or our higher self. So do the red or black, put together a question. What should I do next? What healing modality? Ask questions that are important for you and then wait to receive the answers that you're receiving. Those answers that pop in represents clairaudience. Clairvoyance is clear seeing. When we use our clairvoyance, we can see the energy and life force. We get visions that are futuristic, and we can see them either in our mind's eye or with our physical eyes. I want everyone to develop their clairvoyance with their physical eyes. So I want you to try to see auric energy around yourself and other people. Now, what I want you to do is when you're in the bathroom or around a mirror, okay? Now imagine my screen, you're looking at me, but I'm looking in the mirror, okay? I want you to focus right here above you when you're looking in the mirror brushing your teeth. And when you're watching this area, move your head a bit, okay? And you'll see an energy right around you. That means that you do have clairvoyance skills. And then once you see where that energy is, try to see it on other people. The best way to see it is from their shoulders and around their head. You can also have, if you have a wall with nothing behind you, you'll be able to see, or behind a person, you'll be able to see that glow really clearly, okay? The other thing is looking for spirit energy or psychic energy. So that is in the atmosphere, okay? So when you go to bed at night, I want you to make sure your room is dark and try to look at the air in between you and the ceiling and look for a static-like energy, okay? That static-like energy is the veil. It represents spirit energy that is giving us healing, and you'll be able to see it. If you see it once, you'll see it all the time, okay? The other thing you can do is light a candle at night. When we look at a candle flame in the dark, it activates our clairvoyance. And if you do that, you'll definitely be able to see an aura around the candle flame or spreading from the candle into the room. So I want you to try that and activate your clairvoyance. Our clairsentience is our clear sensation or clear feelings. It's also known as clairempathic, okay? And these are feeling the atmosphere or the presence around and within. This is the feeling of others, and most of the time, the feelings that we have are not our own. So if you are feeling something negative through your day, say you've been feeling great and you've got your energy and all of a sudden you don't feel that way, I want you to take your right hand and just kind of shake it. Okay, so just shake your hands like this whenever you feel something. And if it goes away right away, then you know that energy was not your own, okay? So shake your right hand like this by your side, and if it is not your energy, it will release and go away. If it is your energy, then ask for guidance and help. You don't want to feel that way, and see how the assistance comes in for you. So also take note on what you sense when you walk into work or when you're walking into different places. What is your psychic self sensing in your life? Is your psychic self sensing good energy? Is it protecting you from bad energy? So pay attention to your feelings. The other pathway is clairscent. So that's clear smelling. And one thing that's super important is always smell your food before you eat it. Because when we smell beautiful things, it actually activates all the other psychic pathways. So smelling your food and smelling aromatherapy, or if you wear perfume, those things keep your psychic pathways open, and it also heightens your state of being. People who have clairscent are able to smell life force around people. Sometimes they can smell sickness or disease or even death. I've smelled death a few times. It is, ugh, and it will like linger. It's like a phantom smell that takes over. It's horrible. You can even try to smudge it and you'll still know that until you know what that information is, it will be there. So smelling your food and beautiful things will definitely heighten your psychic abilities. Then we have claircognizance, or direct perception, or knowingness. This is when you know what's going on without knowing, and a lot of us women have that sense of knowing. But what's important is understanding what our knowingness is telling us. So until we meet again, what topic in your life is your knowingness triggering you? And is it ego-based or is it guidance-based? So pay attention to your direct perception or your knowingness, because what you know that is active is really important. Okay, I am going to check out these questions. If you have any questions, you can unmute. So what was the first and second? I got distracted. What I will do is I I will put a recording of this up. I wasn't going to, but I think it's too much for people to remember. It's kind of a lot. The first root chakra, or the first auric body, was our etheric body, and it represents the protection that we hold within our life experiences and energies. It represents our physical security, our physical body, our organs, and our energy meridians and glands. So this will monitor how we physically feel in our life every day. The second auric body was our emotional body, and it relates to our emotions, our feelings, and our experiences. It screens that. So for us on an emotional level, it's important for us to be balanced and always, wanting to feel better. The more we go for things, and the more that we want for ourselves, the more intuitive we will become on that emotional level. It also feeds into our empathic ability, okay? Do you know much about auras? You mentioned about the planes and auric field. I only once ever saw an aura. It was a guy, it was all golden. Okay, so usually the bodies and the colors of the aura, the first 7 layers of the aura represent each one of the 7 chakras. Whenever you see golden light around somebody, it represents an ancestral being. So there's wisdom and knowledge around them. And because when we connect to the divine self, so that would represent, I guess that would have to be the 12th auric body is what you would be seeing. The 12th auric body is golden, and that's the one that connects us to our divine connection, the gods, the goddesses, our spirit guides, or our ancestral beings. So if you saw a golden aura, then that means that they are in a place of high guidance and change and transformation in their life. Okay, then you said, however, so golden light is good. It's always good. It means there's guidance around. However, came to find out he was engaged and married, all while hitting on me and flirting with me. I would have thought that golden aura would be someone pure and not a cheater. Okay, well that, you know what, that's awesome. Now, the part of him that's a cheater would be the mental consciousness or the consciousness of that second auric body. So that emotional body, as well as the body that relates to our relationships, would definitely have some negative energies or debris if his intentions were not pure. Now, because it was the 12th body and that's the golden state, those are always pure. But we get cut off from that energy when we're in certain states of beings. So that would make sense. Does that make sense to you? So let's say from the 10th auric body, the last 3 auric bodies are always pure. Doesn't matter how horrible a person is, there is some kind of divinity in there. Now, there has been people and there are people that will lose their divinity, right? And a lot of those would become, like the murderers or the rapists, those horrible things that people have done. They would be mundane spirits and they can lose their divine connection. Message me more if you want as well. Does anyone else have any questions about what I've said tonight? You might have to listen to it again before the next class, just so that it can refresh. And every time you do, you will learn something or connect with something that is active for you. Like I said earlier, it's really important for you to see what consciousness you're processing from. What parts of life is the most important to you right then, and learn how to connect with that energy for guidance. What does the veil look like? Is it different for everyone? Sometimes we see things and we don't realize what we are seeing. Is that it? Sorry if it's confusing. So there is different veils. Now, if you look at a candle flame for the exercise and watch around the actual flame, you'll be able to see the veils. Okay, each one of our auric body has a different veil, as well as each spirit realm. And from what we spoke of tonight, we have 12 bodies, 12 minds, one in each auric field. We also have the 7 chakras. They all have their own consciousness because those are the portals of giving and receiving the energy of our auric bodies. We also have the spirit veil and a psychic veil. So yes, they do all look different. Now, if you're in a dark room and you can see gray in there, then that represents a psychic veil. That means that there is spirit around that wants to give you information. Now, when I told you to relax at night and try to see the energy between you and the ceiling when you go to bed, you'll see colors. Those represent spirit veils as well. And depending on the colors, represents different spirits or angels that are active in your life. Okay. Apple orchards are really magical. So apple trees hold a lot of power. They're known to connect us to our divine feminine energy. But the one thing that I love about apple trees and also is that that's where they say unicorn energy comes from. So it's the portal for the unicorns, and also connecting to unfound treasures. These unfound treasures can be treasures that we're meant to find in our life, or actual quests that some people have. Like for me, I want to find the Holy Grail. So I could sit under an apple tree and try to receive insight. So I'm using that as an example. But apple trees would definitely heighten your intuitive abilities because you would be tapping into the atmosphere around it, which is divine feminine. And if you can see auras, okay, around the trees, I love that you said this, because when you look outside at dusk, just before it gets dark, you'll see an aura all above the tree lines, okay? That is similar to the aura of all of us. Every item, even my coffee, has an aura. Now, when we see that glow above the tree line, that's actually when the forest awakens. So it's always lovely to walk in the forest during the day. It's so peaceful and grounding. But when we're walking past those trees during the daytime, they're asleep. When dusk comes and you see that aura all the way along, that's when they're waking up. That's their morning air. So trees are awake at night, okay? So you can try going for a walk. Don't go too deep in the forest, but try to stand in a grove of trees during the daytime and then do it at night, and you'll hear more with the trees at night. When you see colors, the colors do represent the different levels of the auric body as well as the chakras. So if you see purple around someone, then you know that it's their crown chakra that is the most active. So that means that there's knowledge around them trying to get through. Now, the actual aura that is in front of us, that first aura, is going to be a blend of all of the colors. So sometimes we'll see lots of different colors, or you'll see stronger colors. Pay attention to what you see. And when you do the candle exercise and look for the aura, try to see color. As soon as your conscious mind knows that you saw something, you'll be able to start seeing that more, okay? It doesn't just give you that one-time deal, okay? The other thing that's important is watching for goosebumps, okay? So when we're talking to people and say they're giving us a story and we get that goosebumps, that's when spirit's like, hey, yeah, they're touching you. So our physical body and our conscious mind does not know how to register spirit touch, and that's why we react. So see, if you've ever gotten goosebumps, then you're definitely a clairempath. Okay, you have the clairsentience ability around you. Okay. I once recently visualized white light in the center of a room and expanded it to clear the room. All of a sudden inside, swirling around, was the most beautiful pink purple. Okay, so when you saw the white, we have the power to activate that, and that's amazing. You can clear a room by visualizing white light. And when we practice magic, we always use the white light to form the circle around us. After you perform a clearing or you fill the room with white light and you receive the purple or the pink or the blues, those would represent spiritual energy. And most of the time, if it's purples or blues, it could be Archangel Michael. But it's usually a celestial being that will bring color. Ancestors will bring orange and gold. Okay. But if you see the sparkles, angelic energy. If you feel someone around you or see a shadow, how can you figure out who it is? Okay, that's interesting. Now here is a fact. If you have any native blood inside of you, and I'm a Jibbawa, a white Jibbawa, but I'm part native, any native people automatically have the ability to see shadow creatures and shadow spirits. And that is because we are protectors of the earth realm, and we can tell when there is negative energies or influences. Shadow beings are usually mundane spirits. So if you do sense a shadow spirit, something's getting your attention, and it usually means that there is some kind of change that needs to occur. If I see a shadow being, I always make sure that I protect myself so it doesn't follow me and try to cause trouble. Shadow beings feed off of psychics, okay? So whenever you see a shadow being, then that means protect yourself so that you don't get that psychic vampire attack. And we'll be getting into that in the next class as well, the psychic attacks. How can you figure out who it is? Okay, now if it's not a shadow being and you feel a presence of someone, now if it is a spirit, the shadow could appear, but you will feel an actual presence of a person. It will represent a male or female energy. So if you see it kind of a shadow or an energy got your attention, take note on the influence you feel. If you feel, and you can just go like that, or put your hands down, if you feel a change in the energy, then it shows that that is a spirit. Male spirits are cold. No, male spirits are hot. Okay? Female spirits give you that chill. So if you're doing tarot cards or you're picking an oracle card or playing with your pendulum and all of a sudden the room gets cold, your higher self is connected to a female spirit around you. Or if you're having a conversation with someone and all of a sudden you heat up, then that means you're connecting to a male energy that's around you. Okay? Male energies will trigger our instincts. Female energies will give us information about hidden things. So even when you pay attention, you walk into a room, is it cold or is it warm? If I feel that it's cold, I know I can tap into stuff. And for me, I love tapping in. Whatever I can tap into, that I do. It's just everything has a meaning and a connection to me. So I use that and it becomes accurate. Now, if you feel that it's male, you can ask, who's here on a mental level? You don't have to speak to spirit like I'm speaking. Just ask a question, who's here? See if a name pops in. Now, one thing that's good is the more names you hold in your mind, the more you'll be able to connect to the spirit and the name of the spirit. Now, when we're connecting to spirit, it's important to know that when we are connecting with our psychic pathways and we know there's a spirit, that spirit also has to connect with our psychic pathways. So if you're talking to a spirit or you're connecting to a spirit who is clairvoyant, then you would receive visions from the spirit. If the spirit is a clairsentient, then you would feel that spirit's presence. So a lot of times when our psychic pathways get triggered, it's because of the pathway that the spirit is communicating with us. So even though it's important for us to open up all our pathways, spirit communicates with their pathways as well. Oh, that's awesome. Archangel Michael is always around you. Nice. Yes. So Archangel Michael, because he came up, use him as well until we meet again. Whenever you feel like you're receiving a block or you need a breakthrough, call Archangel Michael to help you. You can even practice and say, okay, Archangel Michael, I'm heading to the mall. I need a good parking spot, and see what you get. But you do need to experiment and call upon these spirits for them to know that they can help you, that you're open to that suggestion. And then try to stay relaxed and do the meditations to clear your mind. As soon as you clear your mind, you're heightened and you're able to receive information. Okay? So before we go, let's pull a card on, until we meet again, what is active. Okay? I hope you enjoyed this. Now, even though we have the 5 senses and the pathways I've spoken about, in this class, we're going to be going over like 100 different ways to connect with spirit, so that you are able to develop yourself and work with all of those pathways and have fun doing it, okay? So let's see what we get. What is our guidance until we meet again? Oh, I love it! Okay, I'm sorry. I get all excited every time I pull the cards. It never gets old for me. So look at this. Spiritual alignment puts my manifestation into motion. So let yourself have fun. Know that every day your psychic pathways are at work. They are connecting. And try to take note. What is my knowingness paying attention to? And honor it, even if it's something that you're breaking through or you're trying to create. What feelings am I picking up on? Am I more in a positive state or a negative state? And let yourself see. If it's negative, ask for help. Don't take anything on yourself. For me, if I have something that's difficult, I ask for assistance and then I wait until it comes. I don't believe in dealing with negativity. I also don't believe in dealing with difficulty. So there's always guidance that will help you, and the guidance will always be simple. It's never difficult. It's always like, oh my God, I only have to do that. So learn to receive the information that you want, okay? As well as looking for the auras. Do these things. I'll post this tomorrow for you and you can listen to it again. Until then, thank you so much for coming. Many blessings to you. Pay attention, be aware, and let yourself align to your superpowers. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for joining me. It was great to see you. Take care.